Just making sure.
All right, check.
These are my new mic stands I got for Christmas, trying to be cool
nice.
and podcast.
Yeah,
What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Chikachar podcast. I have my friend here and comedian Seth Milstein.
What up?
Yeah, thanks for coming here today, buddy.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Man, we haven't done
cool
this in a
space.
long time. I think, like you said before, like the first time we met was actually we podcasted together.
It was like 10 years ago.
Like 10 years, like literally 10 years ago. So yeah, this is cool, kind of full circle to be coming back around and doing this with you.
For sure, yeah.
A lot has changed since then.
Yeah, a lot has changed in both of our lives.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I was doing a podcast with a friend of mine back then, and he was kind of doing the local like comedy thing, and I've always just really loved podcasting and talk radio and stuff. Like when I was a kid, I used to listen to Loveline like all the time.
Yeah.
And then
I think we all grew up on a lot of people did.
Yeah, for sure. We point that down just a little bit at you.
Down like this?
Yeah, there you go.
All
Perfect.
Right, there we go.
So I just have always loved like talk radio and stuff, and I just the podcast format is super fun. I love hearing from people that I'm interested in, and so yeah, it's just really cool to get to do this some more.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's also it's kind of scary, dude.
Yeah.
Just like,
what are you scared of, Charles?
Just like putting yourself out there on the internet.
Yeah, I mean, that's the crazy thing is you're in a conversation, and like in a conversation, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah,
but like it's
between you and
forever.
yeah, it's recorded forever, and then it's on the internet, and everybody can judge you.
Yep. I had a podcast for a while that was a podcast about podcasts. Okay, because that's how up my ass I was.
What was the name of your podcast?
It was called the Podcast Cast.
Okay,
and we actually did some pretty cool interviews. Well, I tried to find the the original audio files, and I think they're gone. So, but we interviewed Mark Maron, and
that's cool. You talked to Mark Maron?
Yeah, we talked to Mark Maron and Dan Harmon and a couple other people who were kind of like big in the game.
That's so cool. Yeah. So, how would you go about like talking to your guests? Would you like invite them over, or would you do it at a local show or something?
Yeah, we did a lot of our big interviews. We waited until there used to be a comedy fest in Portland called the Bridgetown Comedy Festival, and we would set up interviews with people. We just like tweet at people and be like, hey, and we kind of got the ball rolling with Marin, and we had done. That was later. So yeah, Marin I think was our first big guest. Before that it was all people like in the Eugene comedy scene.
Right on.
And then there was a thing going on in podcasting that was like where Patent Troll was suing all these like huge podcasters.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah. And so because we were a podcast about podcasts, it was interesting to some of these guys to like do something with us because we were talking about the subject of podcasting.
Oh, yeah.
And Marin agreed to do it. So we did it at his hotel after one of his shows at the Aladdin Theater.
Wow, that's so cool.
And he was very cool. And it turned out, we found out later that night he had come down with a fever. So like we took pictures with him after we recorded, and he looks dead. He looks like a dead dude.
But he was nice enough to still do the interview.
He still did the interview. He gave us like an hour-long interview.
Wow.
He was very sweet. He answered all our questions. I did a bad interview. Like I was not good at interviewing
it's
at
hard.
the time. And we used to do a thing. So I had a partner at the time, and he and I used to do, we would kind of interview people in tandem. So like, he would ask a question and I would kind of prepare for the next question or whatever.
Yeah.
And then, and right before we went to record, an XLR cable went out.
Oh,
so
bummer.
we only had 2 mics, and he was just like, this is all you.
Yeah.
And so I was like really taken aback, and I don't think I did a really good interview, but
it's hard. Yeah. It's kind of easier when you do have like maybe that third person to bounce ideas off of, or just to kind of fill space.
It's a more fluid conversation.
Yeah. And sometimes I do like to, like before a podcast, kind of do a little bit of a dive and like write down some notes and stuff on paper. But it's funny. I kind of I don't know what it is, but there's some kind of resistance sometimes there too, because like sometimes I'm just like I got this. Like I know this person, or it's gonna be fine, whatever.
Yeah.
So
and sometimes it is.
Yeah,
And,
sometimes it
yeah.
is.
And after that, we were really, really meticulous about gear when we were doing on the road setup.
Yeah.
We interviewed Dan Harmon one time, and we had to go to LA to interview him.
Oh, wow.
And it was really cool. He gave us an hour and a half of his time, right after he got back from this big tour. So I mean, in his office, and it was really, really cool and very, very gracious of him.
Where was your podcast premiered? Where would you?
Oh,
post
it was just on Apple. It was
that's cool.
It was kind of before Spotify happened.
So is it could you find it?
No, because we took down the hosting service,
Oh, okay.
and then so it all disappeared, and that's why recently I was I think the one with Dan Harmon, somebody recorded it and then put it on YouTube, so you can still hear that.
Oh, that's cool. Just some random person?
Yeah, a fan of Dan Harmon.
Oh, that's cool.
Not us. But yeah, I think the Marin one's gone, and we interviewed the two people who did. There was a podcast called Who Charted, and there was a podcast that had Tig Notaro on it, and we interviewed one of the less famous people that was on her podcast, David Huntsberger, who was really cool, very funny comedian and artist. And we had a couple of Greg Barrington and Dave Anthony. Dave Anthony's on the Dollop now.
Okay.
They used to have this old podcast before that, and we interviewed them, and we had some cool episodes, but But yeah, it's all lost to time now.
Yeah, that happens. That sounds really cool, though. You must have met probably a lot of people that you look up to or have been excited to work with.
I
You've
sure
been doing
have,
comedy
yeah.
for a long time.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it's been a minute. Yeah.
How long have you been doing comedy for?
It's coming up on 15 years.
15 years.
Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah, and we just this family just opened a comedy club in Eugene.
That's
so
right.
I've been helping them out a little bit.
What used to be Hi-Fi and
yep,
all that
and
stuff?
sessions and all that.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
It's I love that they're doing it as primarily a comedy club, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I
they're
love
going to
that-
have some music there occasionally to fill in gaps.
I would
and stuff,
imagine that
but
they kind of would have to.
Yeah.
It's probably tricky to have enough shows and things.
Yeah, I
with
think the
just
goal
comedy.
is to have comedy for every Friday and Saturday, though.
That's rad.
Eventually, yeah.
It'd be cool if they start bringing in some bigger acts from over the country. And
Yeah,
stuff.
well, we're booking some pretty awesome acts regionally and nationally.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Are they going to do it similar where they have the hall and the bar?
Yeah, so right now just the lounge is open and it's 80 seats. It's actually a really great setup. They kind of they redid the entire decor in there.
Okay.
It looks really cool.
Yeah.
And it's a nice vibe for comedy. And then they're currently renovating the bigger hall. So I don't know what that's going to end up being. I think they're shooting for a 200-seater, but I don't know for sure if they're going to, because they want it to be a nice environment where you can get dinner and a show.
That's good.
And they
Yeah.
have some pretty good food. The menu's kind of limited right now, but they're expanding it.
That seems to be a popular and successful model for around here, a restaurant that turns into a club or whatever. at
Yeah,
night.
exactly.
Prime example being the Davis.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice restaurant, and then every
And then
weekend
they just flip it.
flooded with people that want to go and dance.
Yeah, I've done shows at places like that where they're the moment the comedy show's over, they put up poles and it becomes a dance club and shit like that. And I was like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, got to keep the business flowing.
Yeah,
got to get creative, especially nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's I don't remember who said it. It's not my quote, but somebody said it's a sad day in a comic's life when they realize that they're just selling beer and chicken strips.
Yeah, it's probably challenging when you're trying to do your set and you're talking over waitresses and plates clicking and clanging.
Yeah, yeah.
Conversations over dinner.
Usually in actual comedy clubs, they're pretty good about that. They kind of make sure to not do to have glassware that's not super heavy and stuff.
Oh, really?
Like that. Yeah, that's why it's a lot of plastic chicken baskets
Oh,
and
okay.
stuff like that.
Yeah,
But,
interesting.
but yeah, they kind of time it out to make sure that there's minimal interference
least
with the
interruption.
audience's attention and stuff like that. So
Nice.
But so far it's been cool to work with the people, and they seem to be really positive about like the existing comedy scene as well as the future of like.
Yeah, I was
putting a
just
good
about to
club
mention that
together.
because it sounds like you're working with them, so it's cool that they're working with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
So-
Yeah. I think some people were nervous about that, and it's like obviously there's going to be a little bit of shuffling around and stuff, but they seem really focused on they don't want to step on toes. They're like, we want all the mics to still happen because we want everybody to still be getting better and grinding and everything.
Rad.
And they chose a day that we don't have any open mics to start their open mic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
Nice.
next Wednesday we're going to start a mic.
That'll be
there.
the first one?
Yep, and it'll be super fun.
Okay, so next Wednesday, that's January
24th.
24th?
Yeah.
What time does that start?
It's going to be a 7:30 sign up, 8 o'clock show.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, it should be really fun. And then I think they're doing like a regular retro DJ night on Thursdays, unless they have a booking that
Oh, that's cool.
works for it.
I should hit him up. I'd love to DJ a set or something over there.
Oh yeah.
I've been DJing a lot lately.
Yeah, I'll put you in touch with them.
That'd be cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, I've been actually doing all kinds of stuff. DJing, doing sound, working
Yeah.
super hard on this band that I'm getting ready to debut.
That's awesome,
Just
man.
announced a show at John Henry's. We're
Yeah.
doing February 10th. It's a Saturday.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
What kind of music?
It's like heavy metal, like gent, deathcore.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's this project I've been working on for probably like 2-3 years now. And
Yeah.
finally get to play a show with these guys. So
Yeah.
super excited.
The new John Henry's has just been killing it with their shows.
Oh, yeah.
Like I've seen so many fun shows there recently.
Dude, that Yob show that they had recently
incredible.
was packed.
It was so good. And it was crazy because it was like a reunion of like the whole like Eugene bar scene. Like,
Yeah.
I saw people there that I hadn't seen in 10 years.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like out at a show, like I see them at like the grocery store, but
Yeah.
it was so cool to just see everybody out, like people that have kind of like just kind of gotten kids and
Just
grown
don't have
up
the
a little
time,
bit more,
yeah.
and people who got sober and stuff. And,
Yeah.
But it's good show will bring anybody out.
For sure. I didn't get to
And
watch
Ninth Moon
Yob's
Black.
set, but I did get to watch some of Ninth Moon Black because I worked down the street at Lucky's
Yeah.
that night. But I went there and I watched Ninth Moon Black and
They
took
were
some epic
incredible.
photos.
Yob. I think I saw Yob like the second year that I lived here, like 16 years ago.
They're from here, right?
Yeah,
And now they're like nationally touring.
Yeah, they're a pretty big band. Yeah, and definitely in the metal scene, and internationally because they've done some like festivals over in Germany and stuff. But yeah, like seeing them for the first time in like over a decade was great, and then Ninth Moon Black, I've been seeing those guys. So when I started doing comedy, I used to book a monthly show at this place called the Oak Street Speakeasy, and Eric from Ninth Moon Black was the sound guy.
Okay.
And like he was so cool to work with. Like I broke a mic one time. It was my own personal mic, and he was like, I'm going to fix this for you and I'll get it back to you next month. And he did.
Nice.
He fixed it. And I think I still have that mic kicking around somewhere. But
Rad.
yeah, he was always cool. And so I would make an effort to go out to see Ninth Moon Black whenever they would play.
Yeah.
And man, that show with Yob, it was the best I've ever seen them. And
It seemed like
they
it,
are
yeah.
always tight. They're
So
always
many
really
people
good.
from the community were there.
But yeah, it was so good. That show just ruled all the way around.
Yeah.
I was so stoked.
Totally. I had a thought. I lost it. Yeah, that was an epic show. Let's see. Where else we go here? I'm kind of drawing a blank. See, podcasting is hard.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about John Henry's, man. They've been crushing it all the way around. They've got some really fun shows coming up. I saw I Hate God there. That was really cool with and then I saw, who else? Goat Horror was awesome.
Right.
And they've just been really getting some awesome.
I've gotten to do
bands
sound
there.
for some cool bands there too, local and touring, and it's pretty fun. That's a really cool stage.
Yeah.
it can get super loud in there.
Yeah. We just did a comedy show there like a couple days before Christmas. And
right.
It's so fun to do comedy there even,
Yeah.
It's just a great space. I remember when it was the Game Pub, or
Yeah.
Sure You Can Leak.
That place was
before
cool.
that. Yeah,
I used to love going there and playing Smash Bros. I'd
Yeah.
just go there for hours and play Smash Bros.
I would go there, and I was dating this girl who was like really into Mario, all the Mario stuff, and she would like one time we went in there, and she was like playing Mario World, and I'm just like sitting there drinking and eating food, and watching her, and then I look up, and everybody had stopped and come over to watch her play because she played it, and it looked like the demo for the game because she was like perfectly hitting every like power up and all that stuff. It was so funny. I was so like, these nerds love you.
Hell yeah. Yeah, that venue is pretty epic. There's a lot of really great spots around downtown. Big Dirty, John Henry's, Lucky's.
Yeah, Big Dirty. I recorded a special there.
I was going to ask you if you had recorded a special.
Yeah,
let's talk about that a little bit.
We're going to put that out probably in February. Yeah, I'm like kind of editing, working with my the guy who recorded it.
I really want to help somebody make a comedy special. I think I could do a good job on that.
I have this idea that I've been talking to the booker at John Henry's about. I just want to do an album, and I want to put it on vinyl and do like in comedy back in the from the 40s up to the 70s, there was these things called party albums.
Okay.
And it was like really, really dirty, raunchy comedy.
Oh, yeah.
And they would just put out a record and people would listen to them at parties, you know, and everybody would just sit around and smoke and drink and laugh their ass off, you know. But like Red Fox and Richard Pryor used to do them. And I was like, it would be so fun to do that type of thing, like just market it like an old school party album.
It would be cool.
And then
kind of like a throwback.
I'd love to record it at John Henry's, and I think it would be super fun. Yeah,
definitely, that'd be sick. Yeah, I really want to help somebody do that. I just love like video and audio production, and it would be really cool to get a comedy special under my belt as far as being, producing something. We had you on our new open mic at Lucky's that we're doing, which we do every other Sunday now. But I've been playing around with the mixer on stage and figured out, I can actually plug my laptop into it and record tracks individually.
Yeah.
So it'd be cool to record a live performance comedy or a band, do audio and video and blend it together.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Because I've quite a bit of experience in that. I'm always playing my drums and stuff, and I make a lot of videos of me playing originals and covers and stuff like that. And so it's really all kind of the same thing, just once you know how to blend it all together. So yeah, it'd be really fun to work on that.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah. We're I think the guys who own the club were talking about the new comedy club. We're talking about having nights where people could film their sets and stuff like that.
Oh, rad.
Just so everybody could have a good video.
Yeah.
Stuff.
So
which
then
they do that up at Helium too.
I was gonna say is it no phones allowed kind of thing during the comedy sets and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're not doing the put your phone in a bag thing or anything, but we mention it.
It's
at the beginning of the
discouraged.
shows that you shouldn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, because you don't want to. Yeah, it's somebody else's intellectual property.
And a lot of times, you're working on bits and stuff, and it's not the original, or the final form that you want to put out there.
Especially open mics, for sure. You don't want people people. I know a lot of people who will videotape their own sets, but it's you don't want to. You don't want to be taping other people's stuff and putting it on YouTube, especially if they're just working on material. Yeah,
that makes sense. Comedy is different like that, whereas you guys are working it out on stage in front of people, whereas musicians we're in here rehearsing, getting ready, and then presenting it too.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is you can learn a song and because you have ears that you have learned the song. It's we need to know if it's funny.
You're kind of going based off of feel, laughs and feedback and stuff.
Yeah, it's very much instant gratification. To when you write something and it works the first time, you feel like a rock star.
Hell yeah.
You're okay, I know what I'm doing. Yeah. But then sometimes people go through slumps. When I got sober, it was really difficult to kind of regain my timing and stuff like
really?
that. Yeah, it was the writing was still there. I could write jokes and stuff, and I knew that they were funny. But it took me a couple of months to kind of get my feet on the ground again while I was doing live shows.
That's super interesting.
Yeah, it was, and I didn't expect it. I was like, well, this is like in me. Like I've done this long enough that I know how to do it. And it's like I did know how to do it, but it was like kind of like learning how to write with my left hand. You know, it's like both these hands work, but I've just been doing it this way for so long that it's hard to switch over. And I wasn't even a guy that got drunk before I went on stage. Most of the time, it happened a time or two.
Was it kind of just like the time you like wait after a laugh, or just like the way you transition from one joke to another, or just like
and I think it was my energy. I think it was my mentality. Like I was, I think I was a little bit more nervous than I had been in a really
because sometimes like after a drink or two, it's kind of easier to like kind of forget a little bit of like everybody's watching me kind of thing.
And like before, I mean, I definitely had issues with alcohol, but I also had like a Coke thing before that I quit doing that like 4 years ago, but yeah, so like I remember, and it was never about getting fucked up before I go on stage, but it was always like, okay, no matter what happens on stage, I have this cool high to wait for me afterwards. And like knowing, like it's like you're shifting because you're like, okay, this being on stage, this is the cool thing that I'm doing tonight. And then everything else after that is just me going home and thinking about this thing.
Yeah.
Or
it really puts the art into focus.
Yeah. So it's I think there was just like some subconscious fear going on there.
Yeah.
And so it was weird because I quit so that I could get ready to do the special. I wasn't planning on being a sober person.
How long was your special?
It was about I think 55 minutes.
Nice, dude.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's
probably really hard to write like an hour of jokes.
You build it after time, and it's like weird because now I like write a lot faster than I ever did,
really?
And I don't know if it's like the subconscious thing of knowing that I burned this hour of great material. So it's like, I'm just constantly coming up with new stuff.
Now you're scrambling for all kinds of bits to work on.
Yeah. I mean, it used to be like, I'd come up with like maybe 15 minutes every 6 months or so. And then like that stuff would evolve, or I'd drop some of it and some of it would get better.
Yeah.
But now it's like I kind of do this thing where I come up with 5 minutes pretty quickly, like in one writing sesh, and then I just work on that for like a month, and then I'm usually writing more stuff while I'm working that out, and then I slowly start integrating it, and then next thing I know, like that 5 minutes is a new 5 minutes that I've just kind of worked into that. And then it becomes, once I do longer sets, it's like, okay, I have 15 now, or I have 20 now, or whatever.
Do you like write by your hand, or do you type, or do you just do it in your mind, or how do you? What's like your process?
A lot of it is in my mind. When I first started comedy, it was like meticulously written out. Like I'd make little notes of like pause here, and I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, so none of that made sense. And now it's like if I come up with an idea, I'll usually write down like if I come up with like a punchline, I'll write that down. If I get sometimes I'll come up with a premise of something that I want to talk about, and I know what one of the punchlines is, but it's like a big topic, so then I have to like write it out and figure out where like make sure that there's enough jokes in it that there's not huge gaps of silence and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm like in my car or my shower, and a short joke will come to me like fully formed, and then I have to build more stuff around that to make it like a chunk or a bit.
That's really interesting because like I'm interested in comedy. I would like to give it a shot. There's just so many things that I do. It's hard to like spend time and dedicate like to work on that. But kind of similar. So sometimes I will have funny thoughts, and I'll write the premises down in my phone, but I think maybe one time I've actually like sitting down to like try and like develop something. Yeah. But usually
it's
like
especially awkward before you know what it's going to feel like to do it as comedy. You know, like when the stuff that I wrote before I ever did comedy is not like, it's not the way comedy goes. It was like very hackneyed, like it was like what we call Catskills comedy, you know. It was like set up punchline, which is not the like that format is not really hack, but it's just like I was definitely like not I was not writing stuff that was true to my my personal self, you know. Like I was just writing stuff that I thought was what comedy was.
Yeah.
And now it's like I kind of train my brain, and I always tell this to like younger comics. It's like eventually you will train yourself to look at the funny in every part of your life, you know. And then it's also different types of comedy. Some people like being absurd and talking about stuff that doesn't make sense but is funny because it doesn't make sense. And I'm like very autobiographical. Like I like talking about my life, and to like, you know, specifically I like talking about the dark, painful shit and trying to make that funny, because like then like other people can relate to it that are going through similar experiences and maybe see that there is humor in all that stuff, you know? It doesn't have, you know, like your trauma doesn't have to be the end of the world, and it doesn't have to be so fucking serious, you know?
Yeah, I find that interesting because like I feel like for me it would be the challenge is, it's kind of like this with podcasting too, is to kind of like let my guard down or to be that transparent sometimes, you know. Like I love talking to people, but I don't know, I'm like, I guess I'm certain ways with some people, or there's things about me that I'm like maybe not ready to share or whatever, and sometimes it's kind of hard to be so vulnerable. And then, you know, with your art form, it's like all eyes are on you, and that's kind of what they're there to hear from you.
Like what I think I had a moment, you know, when I was a few years into it, when I realized that the fear wasn't an obstacle. The more I like let live in my fear while I'm on stage and like be super honest about it, that's like when I get the most reaction out of the audience, like the most positive reaction in the audience, because then we all know, like, when you see somebody that's clearly uncomfortable on stage, but they're trying to pretend to be super comfortable, like it's like a vibe, and like everyone is kind of like
in tune to it.
Yeah, everyone's kind of like, okay, whatever, like this guy's fake, you know. But if I say into the microphone, boy, I am really fucking scared of you. Like Bernie Mac famously went up and at Def Comedy Jam and said, "I ain't a scared of you motherfuckers," or whatever. And I one time I went on stage, and it was a show that I was very nervous. It was like a big show, and the first thing I said was, "I am a scared of you motherfuckers," and like that was that got a huge laugh. And then like it was like, okay, we've defused the situation. Now I'm gonna fucking do my jokes, and you guys are gonna be you guys know me a little bit more intimately. You know?
Those first few minutes are probably super crucial too, because like that's where you're gonna win them over or not.
Oh yeah, it's I think, you know, a friend of mine recently told me, he's like get on top of them right out of the gate.
Yeah,
you know?
That's what I like to do too. Like when I'm structuring a set list for like a band or something, like you want to put some bangers right at the very beginning. You know, you want to grab their attention.
Yeah, that's what I always tell people for open mics. Like open mics are for you trying new material, but you also want to leave the stage feeling good. You know, so like start with a banger, end with a banger, and then put the new shit in the middle.
That makes a lot of sense.
So at least you get a laugh out of the gate, so everyone knows that you're a funny person.
Yeah.
And then you close on a laugh. So if all that new shit is just you working through some stuff or whatever, or like trying new material and seeing what's not working, then at least like when you get off stage, you're like, okay, well, we had fun, you know.
Open mics are typically what, like 5 minutes?
Yeah, in big cities they're actually 3 minutes. Which,
oh wow.
Yeah, and it's funny because like now that I've been doing this for a while in Eugene, I've seen like completely, like in the smaller towns, like different styles emerge. Like you know, in bigger markets, like you know, people get to the joke really, really quickly. It's more about the punchline. I
was gonna say, like, because that format you were talking about, where it's like you were saying that it's not hack, but like, you know, it's set up punch.
Yeah.
It's, you know, sometimes you have to probably lean into that.
Yeah,
for short sets.
And you see a lot more one-liner comics. And
keep going. I'm just gonna hit record on the camera real quick.
Yeah. But yeah, you see a lot more like one-liner comics in big cities because it's just a quick way to nail down a laugh in a short amount of time. But yeah, like in smaller communities, you see like more long form comics, storytellers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's an open mic in Corvallis, and I think they give you 7-minute long sets.
Okay.
And so like
those extra 2 minutes are
probably, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And that's longer than we have here. So yeah, like their scene develops developing a completely different style than we have, and we're doing it different than like Portland and Seattle.
Yeah.
And
what are some of your favorite open mics around here?
Well, I'm biased because I run a bunch of them, but
let's hear some of those too.
During the summer, when I run an open mic, and I have different people host it, but it's mostly me and Angie Bloomfield, who's really funny. And we run a mic at Slice, and they have like this cool patio in the back.
Slice in the Whitaker?
Yeah, and so they're in the spring, summer, and fall, it rules, and we usually get a lot of people out to it because it's like really fun, and people love hanging out in the wit. And in nice weather, it's just like a really cool environment.
Yeah, it's a fun place.
And their stage is really cool. I tried to record a special there, and a train came through like 4 times so
dang.
We never put that one out, but I still have it. I might mess around with it at some point. But yeah, so like that's my favorite, but that's specific to seasons.
But because it's hard to do outdoor when it's cold and rainy.
Lucky's is the reigning champ, man. Lucky's has been around forever,
right?
That actually that was kind of started. There's an artist and a comic named Penny Glass, and she and local legend Chad Kashuba started that, and it was called Kashu's Days, and it was. They would put up 3 comics for 5-minute sets, and then they would have a musician come in, or like sometimes there would be like modern dance or something like that, and then 3 comics, and then another musician or whatever, and then Chad's schedule got shifted, and he couldn't do Tuesdays anymore, so he handed it to me, and I switched it to a Muse Days, and I would host it. I hosted it with Isaac Paris for a while, and who's now does a lot of work at Spectrum. He books a lot of the shows there, or maybe all of them. But he and I co-hosted it for a while, and then he had to go pursue some other stuff, and so I hosted it with various other people from the scene. Like every week I would do it with different people.
That's cool.
And then for a while I was hosting it with Russell Malia, who went on to play in Tit Sweat, who's like a local band that is just killing it right now. And that was super fun. And then eventually I took over the green room mic, and I didn't think at that time I was like, the scene's so small that other people should have opportunities. So I handed it off to another comic who doesn't do comedy anymore, and he handed it off to Chaz, who still hosts it. And I think Chaz has been doing it for like 5 or 6 years now. Yeah, and Chaz is crushing it with that mic. It's it's Lucky's is Lucky's, but it's still like a really fun time when there's enough people there.
Yeah. I've been in like the last couple. Popped in like I think last couple weeks. Not consecutively, but I was there. Yeah. I don't know, like I think like 2 weeks ago, and then maybe the week before that. But it's fun. I love popping in and watching you guys do your thing. Yeah. I was watching, and I'm like, man, I wish I like had the time and the courage to get up there and do it, because it looks fun.
Yeah, I love all the mics, honestly. Nathan Adair runs a mic at Barn Light on Sundays. That's fun. It's Sunday, so he doesn't get the crowd that I think that mic deserves, But
Sundays are kind of tricky, huh?
Yeah, but it's cool, now that you guys started the Lucky's thing every other Sunday. So on those Sundays, we at least can do 2 mics.
I love that it's variety too. Yeah. Like it's like we can have comedy, we can have musicians, we can have storytellers. We could I just want to whatever if our stage will support whatever your art format is. Like, I just want people to be able to display it. Like, it'd be cool. Like, maybe somebody's a videographer, or photographer, or something. We could like show some of their stuff. Or
that would be cool.
You know, whatever.
Mixed
honestly,
media.
yeah. Like, you know, somebody's got a dance performance or something. Like, I just want to like showcase the community. And you know,
I love that. Yeah, we were doing some stuff like that. We did this benefit show one time with where we had burlesque and comedy, and it was basically just like an homage to all performing arts. We had a couple bands, and
Rad.
It was just really cool. I love getting all the different performing arts communities together. You know, like that's really cool. We even did me and a guy named Matt Bliss did a thing called Portraits of Comedians, and we did it like a couple of different times. I think he started it originally with Mike McGowan.
Okay.
And then I helped book a couple of times. But yeah, they would have local artists do portraits of famous comedians that inspired them artistically.
Oh, cool.
And then we would have a gallery showing, and at the opening of the gallery show, and it was always like in a local venue or whatever. I think we did it in Old Nick's, we did it in Jameson's.
Oh,
like,
cool.
It was
so
really
like
cool.
multiple venues.
Yeah, just like different years we did it in different places.
Okay.
And then like it would show for all month, and like usually the paintings would be for sale, and but we would do a comedy show at the beginning of it with like local comics, and it was always a blast. And yeah, I love art, and I love my community in Eugene.
Totally.
So it's kind of cool to be able to use the thing that I do to kind of get everybody on the same page, you know.
Absolutely.
And it's fun.
Yeah. You mentioned Mike McGowan. I love that guy. We worked together, and I've watched him do stand up and stuff, and he's got a cool podcast now, Grown Local.
Yeah.
I haven't listened to it in a minute, but I listened to it I think I was listening to it pretty regularly around the time it came out, and then I just need to check in on it. I haven't watched it in a while, but he does it with another comedian. Is it Billy Wayne?
Billy Wayne Davis.
Yeah. Billy Wayne Davis. And so he's not from here, right? He's like he's from LA,
Billy
right?
Wayne's he's originally I think Tennessee.
Is Mike still in the Pacific Northwest, or I haven't seen him lately?
I think that he's in I think he's in Portland now. Yeah, I think he moved up there.
Yeah. I haven't seen him around lately.
Yeah, he kind of wasn't he was still doing comedy shows, but he wasn't really like participating in the comedy scene. He would do like one-off shows with Billy, and he was touring when Billy was in the area with Billy, but
I've seen him host in burlesque too.
Yeah, he always hosts Wax Poetry Review.
Yeah.
And he's awesome at that.
Yeah. I love burlesque. It's so fun.
He and I used to host Broadway Review together.
Yeah, and I did sound for it.
Yeah. Like it was me and Mike and Chaz would do some. Jay Malone did some. Like they would get different comics to come in and host, and various people from like Portland and stuff.
Yeah.
And so Mike and I had like a friendly rivalry where we would, because we're both from the East Coast, so we would just be dicks to each other about that, be like, oh, like he would stop
Who's
by and be like, oh, I just wanted to come by and see how bad you would host the show. And but he ended up being like the supreme burlesque host, I was,
he's really good at it.
Yeah. And he's he gets into the. I would always wear the same thing. I was gonna
say the costumes and stuff.
He gets into the costumes and stuff, and I
so
never
the shirt
had
open.
money. I didn't have a wardrobe budget. So I just had this one jacket that I would pull out. I had a couple of nice shirts, and I would rotate through those.
Yeah.
But, I always had fun doing it.
Yeah,
and
those were good times.
That was definitely I would love to try. I actually hosted one burlesque show sober, and I still had a blast. On stage, off stage, I was a mess, but but now I'm like, I feel like really like positive about my where I'm at in my head and my heart and stuff. So
good.
I think I'd be better at. I want to get back into hosting burlesque.
I bet it feels great to be sober, man.
Yeah, I never fucking thought that I would enjoy it, and I guess that's why people don't do it. But it's it's different for everybody, and I think it's a thing where you have to want to do it. Like it has to be something that you're
be your own
driven
will
to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
But for me, it was I just had a lot of stuff, emotional stuff that I wasn't dealing with, and I needed to be sober to deal with that shit. And and like now, like life still happens, you know, shitty stuff. I mean, my power is out for 36 hours. You know, I still get super stressed, but like not. I get to move through it instead of just
like you need that to deal with
dealing with it, you know, because that's what it was. Like my mom died a couple of years ago, and I never fucking processed it. I just kept postponing having those emotions, and it was like, man, I need to fucking feel that shit, and it's gonna suck. And then now, like, it doesn't suck that much. Like whenever that shit comes up, it's like, oh, cool, I know how to move through this and not let it fucking ruin the next couple of months of my life.
Yeah.
You know?
That's really great.
Yeah, and
I've
like,
been kind of trying to cut back. Like I've been trying to drink only 2 nights a week, and cause just like working downtown, like around the bars and stuff, it's so easy to fall into.
Oh yeah,
you
man.
know, having a beer every night or whatever.
It's the weird thing. Like everybody's like, how do you do that? Because I never stopped doing comedy. I'm still at bars almost every night of the week, and it's like part of it is. Because like in recovery, like people in recovery are like, you have to change your playgrounds, you have to change your playmates, and I'm like, I can't do that. I love comedy too much. Comedy has
like they want you to separate your life from what you used to do.
Yeah, they just don't want you to be around.
But yeah, when you have an art form that you love to do, it's like you can't.
I can't do that.
You just have to learn how to.
Comedy has saved my life several times, like when I was in severe depression, and that's and that in those moments where like when I was like, okay, I have to start like at least cutting back or doing something about this.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think it really helped to just keep going out and keep being around it. Like when I first got sober, I was the guy after the open mic that was like, hey, let's all go to this bar and do karaoke or whatever, because I didn't know how to be a sober like I was still like very much in the bar mindset.
Like, what do we do now?
Yeah, and so and like it was funny. My friend like was complaining to me because we stayed out till 2 one night, and she was complaining to me. She was like, I'm so fucking hungover today, and I was like, well, I'm tired, but I feel pretty good. And she was like, you know what? You're a motherfucker for making everybody go out and party with you, and you're the only sober one, and we have to deal with the consequences. I was like, well, you know, that's your shit, but also
I can't hang. Yeah. I'm such a lightweight, dude.
Yeah, after that, I was like, maybe I should try to actually find some sober people to hang out with, because I didn't really know many at all. I knew like 4 people that were sober. And
what was your approach? Was yours kind of like the 12-step program, or was yours kind of like your own personal journey, or were you cold turkey? Did you wean off of it? Or
I did it in phases. I quit coke cold turkey 4 years ago, and it was like a New Year's resolution type thing. And then, but I drank and smoked weed like fucking crazy, and that was
I love smoking
like,
weed.
I mean, it feels good.
It's fun.
But my thing was that it took me like kind of 2 months to get my shit together, but it was 2020, so it was like once that 2 months was like. I white knuckled it through. I was still going to open mics and everything, but I was drinking a lot, smoking a lot of weed. And then like right when I started feeling normal again, everything shut down. And then I got like real deep in depression. And I think we were all dealing with it a little bit, but I already had depression and
just
shit.
Post-pandemic.
So yeah, I mean, it was the pandemic. It was like
pandemic.
It was the beginning of the pandemic. And so I had a couple of friends. We would do a chat. Every Friday we would have a chat night, like where we would get on a video chat, and we would all just get drunk and high together and fucking tell each other new jokes that we wrote and talk shit and
that's cool.
You know, whatever.
Yeah.
And that kind of helped a lot. You know, having those people at that time was really important. And then but like, yeah, there was 1 year during the pandemic that somebody for my birthday, 5 different people got me bottles of whiskey, and I was like, ugh, this is a sign.
Damn.
And then I was like, as soon as these are gone, I'm gonna start thinking about getting my shit together. And then those 5 bottles, I was by myself in my house, and those 5 bottles were gone in like 2 weeks.
Damn.
And I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
This is a problem. And then it still was like a couple of years before I would do like sober Octobers and stuff like that. And then usually like 2 weeks into that, I would get really, really depressed. And I had a friend that's sober that lives in Washington. I would text him and I'd be like, do you get like really depressed when you're sober? And he'd be like, go to a meeting. And I'm like, no, meetings aren't for me, you know?
Yeah.
Because there's such a weird connotation, especially amongst, and like I've romanticized alcoholism. And like I have a tattoo of Charles Bukowski, Johnny Cash, and Richard Pryor on me. You know, it's like I have romanticized addicts and alcoholics, you know, in the and the art that they create, you know. But it's like, then like at one point I took 2 months off, and I was like, I just need to learn how to drink responsibly, you know. And my buddy recorded a special, and he had taken a couple months off, and I was kind of doing it with him. And the night that he recorded his special, I was like, hey, are you going to drink tonight? And he's like, yeah, I think after I record, I'm going to have like a shot and a beer. And I was like, that sounds cool. And I had the shot and the beer with him, and then he left, and then I had 7 more beers. And I was like, fuck, I can't.
I was supposed to have one shot and one
do
beer.
it. Yeah, I can't do it responsibly.
Yeah.
And then I drank like a fucking animal for like the next couple of months. And then there was one night, I mean, it's not a cool story. I didn't fucking drive a car into somebody's house or anything. Like, I didn't get arrested. There was nothing like that.
Yeah.
There was one night where I was hanging out with some friends, and I was like really depressed, and I wasn't talking to anybody, and I wanted to have more fun than I was having. And I was like, I don't feel comfortable being this fucked up all the time anymore. You know, I had gotten to the point where
it's exhausting.
It was like I had to
drinking is exhausting.
I had to drink 8 tall boys every night just to feel like comfortable going to sleep, you know? And I didn't feel comfortably socially like that, you know, like it was like I didn't feel like I could be social with people if I wasn't drinking that much, you know? And that was
it's
crazy.
hard too, especially downtown, because I mean, that's just like what everybody does.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if I go to an open mic, I walk past 3 bars on the way home, you know?
And if you don't have a beer, they're like, where's your beer, man?
Yeah. And so yeah, I quit. And I went 2 months with nothing, and I just kept getting more and more depressed, and like I just kept feeling lonelier and lonelier, and then I reached out to that friend, and he was like, I'm telling you, fucking try a meeting. You just need to build a community around sobriety. And so I went to an NA meeting, Narcotics Anonymous, and I was so fucking skeptical. Like I went on there, I went in there like a smug motherfucker, and then like every person that shared, like I heard like a little piece of my story in their shit, and I remember like getting into my car, and I was driving home, and I involuntarily, like I wasn't crying, but I had tears rolling down my face. And I was like, motherfuckers, I bet they fucking like find out about you and talk about the shit that you're going through just to get you. Yeah. I was like, it's a cult. And then I was like, well, they didn't ask me for any money. Like what's the cult? You know, they did. And, so then I kept going back to meetings. I tried AA, I tried NA, and I like NA a lot. I still go to a couple of AA meetings every once in a while.
Oh, really?
But yeah, it's like, and then it was weird because then I started meeting people that I didn't know were in programs. That were like friends of mine.
You're like,
and
hey.
shit. And I was like, wait a sec. Oh, I haven't seen you at bars in a while. I get it.
Yeah.
And I think, you know,
probably nice to see people you know sometimes.
Yeah, that's comforting, you know, people that you think are cool people, you know, like, oh fuck, okay, cool. And then I you know, I didn't have like a really set schedule, and at that point I was still like my goal was still to just not drink until I recorded my special, and then like that night I was gonna fucking have a big party or whatever, and then like it just kept making more and more sense to not not.
You're already on the
afterwards.
streak. You might as well just keep going.
Yeah, and I'm a nerd. I collect comic books and shit like that. So having chips to collect is kind of cool.
Oh, that is cool.
You get a month every.
Yeah.
In AA, you get a chip every month that you stay clean, and so that was kind of cool. That was like a weird, like I always keep whatever my current chip is in my back pocket. So
yeah, it's
just
a good little reminder.
If I think about drinking, I can look at it and be like, do I want to fucking give this motherfucker up? You
know?
So
which I'm sure still probably works its way into your mind a bit, you know?
Oh yeah. I mean, we just had an ice storm, and like everything kind of shut down for a couple of days, and it gave me real COVID vibes. And I was like, I was like, man, I want to smoke weed just because I'm bored.
And you said you stopped smoking weed the first of this year?
I stopped smoking weed. I was smoking like CBD and with like a little bit of weed in it for here and there. I basically had to wean myself off of weed for a while. Yeah. But like the first of this year was like my firm, I'm going to try a year without weed and see what that looks like.
That's cool.
Because I really do think sobriety works differently for different people. And, like in a lot of those programs, they say like drugs and alcohol had made my life unmanageable. And I do feel like there were parts of my life where weed made my life more manageable because I didn't know how to manage my emotions and shit.
I use it a lot for like, cause I'm alone a lot, I'm here working on songs and I live alone and like kind of to entertain myself.
Yeah.
And so I use it a lot for like, for that. But, probably like when you don't smoke weed, you're so much more clear.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm pretty good about like, knowing when I need my mind to be clear and not smoking, and then when I can, it's not a big deal or whatever.
Right.
But have you noticed how when you stop smoking, your dreams are so much more crazy memorable?
Like, while we were talking, I was remembering my dream from last night.
Dude,
because we said something that triggered, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that was like a whole like it felt like a fucking eternity." Yeah, it was like this whole I used to have a joke about that because I would take breaks every once in a while, and I was like, the first thing I realized when I quit smoking weed was that you can remember your dreams, and the second thing you realize is that no one wants to hear you talk about your fucking dreams.
Yeah,
like they'll listen to you talk about your like dreams for life, but not your dreams that you had last night.
It's just weird how noticeable it is.
It's
like,
when you so smoke, intense.
Like every day or whatever, you're like, oh, you don't remember your dreams, or you didn't have a dream or whatever, and then when you finally get away from it, it's like every night it's just like it's like watching a movie or something.
Yeah, it feels to me like living two different lives. Like I'm living this one very surreal life where all of my worst fears or my greatest aspirations are like merging together in weird concoctions and shit like that. And then I'm living like the life where I have to pay rent and shit.
Yeah. yeah. Your brain is just, I feel like it's just like so much more like active when you're.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I've just done so many drugs in my life that, like, I think that there's enough in my brain that has, like, rested in my brain.
Yeah.
That, like, you were talking about, like, when you're alone and you use it to get creative or like, to pass the time or whatever. Uh-huh. Like, my brain's still pretty active and pretty weird when I'm by myself and I'm not smoking or whatever, you know? I do, I have a pen that's like 100% CBD, and like every once in a while I'll hit that, like if I'm having trouble sleeping or whatever. Yeah. And I don't know if it does anything. I do feel a little bit more relaxed, but it's definitely not a head change. It is not mind altering.
I've gotten packs of like CBD joints and noticed the same thing. Like, I don't know if I'm high, but maybe it's just the habitual, get smoking something. Yeah. Or,
That's I mean, like when I quit smoking cigarettes, I started carrying toothpicks around because it was like it was something to move my hand to my mouth. Yeah. It's something to chew on. Right. I dealt with the oral fixation or whatever. Mm-hmm. But yeah, with the weed thing, it's like I just don't feel. weird how little I missed it when I made the decision to like officially, and I was already pretty much not smoking weed, but when I made the decision to officially not smoke, it was like completely cool. Because there was a couple of times, like I said, during this ice storm, there was a couple of times where I was like, oh, I really wish I could smoke right now. And then I was like, oh, I should probably like call my sponsor or whatever.
That's
and
good.
then all I needed was to talk to other people who probably were dealing with the same thing. You know? And but yeah,
it's probably like twice as tempting too, maybe, because like smoking weed is like, it doesn't. I feel like, well, for me anyways, it doesn't leave me like hungover or make me tired or,
That's, I felt that way, but it turned out it was. Like, I am so much more alert in the morning. Like the next day when I like after a week went by, which I did my first week probably 8 months ago, something like that. And after that time went by, I was like, oh, this is crazy. Like how different and how much more productive I am the next day. And like I said, I just think it's everybody's own thing, and it's your own journey. But like, everybody does. I used to do a month off because somebody once told me
I did a month off this year.
Somebody at a bar told me, if you can go 30 days without alcohol, then you're not an alcoholic, which I don't know where the fuck they got that, but that's like every, no doctor says that.
You can fall back off the wagon for sure.
Yeah. That's where I think that's what the Sober October thing is or whatever. But I did read somewhere that, your brain takes 30 days to start functioning normally again. And then even then, if you're an alcoholic, it's sometimes up to 2 years before you stop like having like really intense emotional reactions to shit. There's this thing called pause that nobody talks about, and it's fucked up, and it's post-alcoholic withdrawal syndrome, I think is what it is. And it's you're like you basically relearning or retraining your brain to react appropriately emotionally and mentally and stuff. And some people it's a month or two, and some people it's a couple of years. But I definitely know that I was super emotional when I quit everything. Because I just I started getting like
everything's so much more upfront, probably.
Yeah, I mean it's like, and like I noticed like watching movies and stuff. Like I would just get so much more emotional, and I'd like be mad at myself for. I was like, why am I fucking crying in this fucking Pixar movie? But it's like it turns out Pixar movies just make.
It's weird how we kind of like we want to like push those feelings and stuff away. But it's like that's like what you should do.
Just feel them.
Yeah, just feel them. It's funny. I listened to this podcast the other day, and this guy was like saying how he was talking to his friend and saying how like he was apologizing for being like for kind of offloading what the stuff that was going on in his life or whatever. And then his friend was like, "No, you shouldn't apologize because we're friends. Like this is what we're supposed to do.
That's what you're supposed to talk about.
Yeah,
with
we're
friends.
supposed to talk about the heavy stuff.
Yeah, and I've always had like a couple of friends that I knew that I could talk about anything with, and like you kind of especially in the comedy community, because we're all so vulnerable on stage, you feel like that's the case, but there's also everybody has a little bit of guard up,
Everybody's kind of looking, judging, watching.
Yeah, and so it's nice to like have a community where you really can. It's really just all about compassion, and it's all about like it's all about like being honest with yourself, and they let you be honest with them about the shit that you're going through.
That's good.
It's basically like
this seems like a pretty supportive community. I wonder like how other communities are, if they're maybe a little more cutthroat or probably the bigger the cities and the less the spots, it probably gets more like that. I have to imagine
like our comedy community is like that. And then I think from what I've heard from other people in recovery, Eugene's recovery community is really awesome because it's I mean, we're a pretty heavily saturated with drugs sort of town.
For sure.
So you would have to imagine for all the drugs here, there's like that many more people trying to be sober and like live a sober life. And like,
sorry to interrupt. Are the meetings pretty packed usually? Or are they?
Depends on the meeting, but yeah, I mean, like it's usually like, I mean, my home group meeting is like anywhere from 20 to 40 people.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's pretty big meeting.
Wow.
And then like there's meetings that happen like every day at the same time. And so those kind of fluctuate depending on the day, you know. It's and like different meetings have different themes to them and stuff like that. So it kind of depends on what people are into. But like the biggest meeting I ever went to was on Thanksgiving Day, and it was like,
wow,
I think it was like 60 to 70 people.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was just.
Do you guys take time to listen to a little bit of everybody's story? That must
It's whoever
take a long
wants.
time.
No, it's whoever wants to talk. No, usually there's a set time for the meeting, and you know, like one of the classic things is if you didn't get a chance to share, talk to somebody after the meeting.
So afterwards, everybody's kind of mingling too. And
yeah. Okay. And like from what I heard before COVID happened, like my friend was just telling me, like we'd go to the noon meeting, then we'd all go out to eat, and then we'd just hang out for most of the day and talk and bullshit and walk around, and then we'd go to the evening meeting, and then we'd all go to the Dollar Theater after that and see a movie. You know, like we don't have a Dollar Theater anymore, but COVID put a. You know, like there used to be like a bowling league that was all like sober people from NA and AA, and that none of that's going on. So actually, I'm talking with one of the local cafes about putting together like a sober movie night.
Rad.
Where we just like watch a movie and then kind of bullshit and talk about it afterwards.
Hell yeah, movie nights are cool. That'd be fun. I've actually thought it'd be cool to do movie nights occasionally at Lucky's because we have stage and the screen for it.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
I don't know like what the legal implications of playing movies in a public venue like
That's
that.
interesting.
But I guess if you weren't charging for it, I think it'd probably be okay.
Probably if you weren't charging for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it'd just be cool to kind of like, because that was the thing that I had the most trouble with is like I kept saying when I first got sober, like, why isn't there a bar for sober people? Like, I want a place that I could go,
like a kombucha bar,
and hang out and like spend time with people.
Yeah.
But that wasn't focused on alcohol or whatever. And then it's just like, that wouldn't make any money.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a good business model.
Yeah.
But then it's funny because then a place opened up called High Street Tonics, and I guess that's what they do is they kind of make mocktails.
Oh, really? That's here in Eugene?
Yeah. And I guess at one point it was part of another business, like it was like a pop-up inside another business. But now
seems
I
like
guess
maybe
they're
with
getting a brick
the
and mortar.
absence of that kind of thing, like, you know, it might actually be a good model to try out, you know?
Yeah. It would be a cool. It would be cool.
Everybody's there drinking liquid death.
Yeah, maybe it has to be like more of a diner environment or something. I don't know what it needs to look at to be a successful model. Like I think there would have to be some food,
for sure.
You know,
entertainment,
something like Sweet Life or something like that, where it's like a cafe. You know, I guess that's what. That place is we just need a late night cafe.
Yeah, and maybe to find the right building, because I feel like places that aren't focused around shows and alcohol and bars and stuff don't usually typically have a stage, so you kind of want that. But that seems like it could work.
Yeah.
Man, we're already at an hour.
Oh wow.
Yeah, dude.
We did it.
Time flies.
I bored everybody with sobriety.
No, dude, I love it. Yeah, I love that. I was just thinking, if there's anything else we want to go over before we sign off here. Any shows or anything you want to promote, or where can people find you?
When's this going to be up?
These are pretty quick turnaround as far as like recording and editing them. Usually I get it up in about a day or two. What's today? Today's Thursday. Yeah, so it'll be up for sure this weekend.
Okay, I am featuring at the Olson Run Comedy Club and Lounge, which is on 7th across from the Holt Center. We have, I believe, the headliner's name is Billy Bonnell, and we have Sarah Levy is going to be hosting the shows. She's very, very funny. She's a newer comic, but she's been like grinding and working hard. I'm really excited for her to work at the club for the first time. And then, just check out that website, the Olson Run Comedy Club and Lounge website. They have a bunch of cool shows coming up. And then I do an open mic at Slice every Monday at sign up at 7:30, show at 8 p.m.
At the Whitaker location?
The Whitaker location. And then I do one tonight. Well, this won't be up tonight, but I do one every Thursday at Wildcraft.
Okay.
Same thing, sign up 7:30, show at 8.
Rad.
And then
is that upstairs, or where do they do that?
No, we do it downstairs right now. I think we might start doing a monthly show upstairs.
Cool.
At some point, maybe. We'll see. We've been talking about it for a while, but everyone's really busy over there because they're harvesting and making cider.
Yeah.
And then next week starts the club mic at Olson Run, which will be every Wednesday. Sign up at 7:30, show at 8, and then go to the other mics. We have Barn Light is sign up 7:30, 8 o'clock show on Sundays. 8:30 sign up at Lucky's 9 o'clock show on Tuesdays, and then on Fridays there's one in Springfield at the Twisted Duck, and that usually starts around 9 with an 8:30 sign up. And those are all super fun shows. And then check out the Eugene Comedy Scene on Facebook. There's all the different promoters and producers post their shows there. There's Big City Gaming does a great show. Max has just started doing a show. I did that one last night. It was super fun. 225 Madison or 255 Madison, the wine bar on
I haven't been there yet.
On Madison Street, across from Wandering Goat. They do a show, a monthly show. I do a monthly at Swallowtail in Springfield, and there's a new one that's returning out on River Road at the Kind Hop. That's a monthly. So yeah, there's a bunch of really great shows going on. Yeah, it's super fun. And then in the summertime we'll get some more stuff going on at Slice again. Yeah, this is a really great time to see comedy in Eugene. And then there's also amazing music going on.
Always, yeah.
Big Dirty and John Henry's always have great shows going on. So
yeah,
that's fun. And if you like to dance, Cowfish always has stuff. Davis always has DJs and stuff on the weekends. It's
we're doing the open mic Sunday. You want to do a set Sunday maybe if you've got time?
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, I could probably do that.
Yeah. If you got time,
because I'll be at Barn Light, so I'll pop over and do one.
Okay,
for sure.
Sweet. Yeah, it's 7:30 sign
fun.
up. Show starts at 8 and probably goes till about 11. So.
Yeah, we usually get out of Barn Light around 9:30. So
okay, sweet. Yeah, if you have time, pop over. That'd be sweet.
Yeah,
bring some other comedians with you.
Yeah, I think that's kind of becoming the new thing.
Cool.
Me and Nathan Hart. Oh, that's another cool thing that's happening. There's going to be Don't Tell is a big national franchised comedy show, and Don't Tell Comedy is coming to Eugene. We're going to do regular shows here monthly.
Okay.
And those are really, really fun. You go on their website and you don't know who's performing or where it's at until the day of the show. And it's usually like in unconventional locations that isn't a comedy club or bars or whatever.
Okay.
Sometimes it's bars, but yeah, we have some fun stuff that's coming up with that. So
awesome, man.
Yeah, that's definitely look out for that on the Don't Tell website.
Okay. Well, I love it, man. Thanks so much for being here and doing this with me.
Yeah, thanks for having
anytime.
me.
Let's do it again.
I really appreciate it. Yeah, and I'll get some of the other comics.
That'd be sweet. Yeah, I've been talking to Chaz. I want to have him on.
Yeah, Chaz would be great.
There's a ton of people I want to talk to.
Luke Miller is really funny. Angie Bloomfield. Rudy Tibersi is one of my best friends. I love that guy. He recorded a special. Burt Walpack recorded a special. He's really funny.
Okay.
I mean, the scene's blowing up, and like almost everybody in the scene, everyone in the scene is pretty funny. Yeah, there's a lot of really up and coming talents. So I'm really excited about everything.
Rad. All right, man. Well, thanks again.
Yeah, of course.
Peace.
Peace.